back to Draw from the Hip. I'm Desiree Shelley, and I'm wondering how many of you have been stumped by the fine print on a tube of paint? Yeah, me too. This video is about demystifying the information that's on a tube of paint so that hopefully not only will you know what it says, but you'll be able to take that information back to your creative practice because a lot of it is extremely helpful. In this video, I'm going to tell you what information to expect to show up on your tube of paint, what all the information means, and I'm going to show you some examples because this is an area where there's a lot of brand differences, even though the general categories are kind of the same. So settle in and let me take you on a quick tour of paint tube labels. The first thing you should find on every tube of paint, and this may seem kind of obvious, there should be a paint swatch on there. There should be something that shows you or gives you a hint at the very least of what color is inside your tube of paint. Different companies do this in different ways. Some companies will label their tubes with actual paint on the outside of the tube. This is the most helpful because not only does it show you exactly what color is in there, it shows you the color of the paint dry. It's very common to see your labels as a printed label. With modern color matching technology and printing technology where it is today, these labels can be very good, but they aren't always, so don't assume, make sure you check. Some brands of paint will let the color of the paint show through the clear plastic bottle. This is an okay way of determining what color of paint is in your tube, but the drawback is some colors dry extremely different. My number one favorite way to see a label on my tube of paint is to actually see some paint on the outside of the tube. Now, a lot of artists will go in and after they buy their tube, they'll put a dab on the lid or on the label itself so that you have that reference of what this paint actually looks like dry. Definitely a nice tip if you've got some that are printed or just showing through the tube. Your tube of paint should have a name on it, but beware, names are brand specific. So an example of this is Gamblin makes Transparent Earth Red and Winsor & Newton makes Indian Red. Both of these are an identical color. And the next piece of information that you'll always find on a tube of paint is how I know that they're the same color. The pigment number on a tube of paint is vital information. In the example I gave, the pigment tells me that both tubes of paint are PR101, which means that despite their different names, I know they're an identical color. They are the same pigment. The pigment number tells you the specific pigment that the tube of paint in your hand contains, and it also tells you if your tube of paint is a blend. Pigments are a standardized measure, so they don't change by brand, just names do. Another important piece of information you're going to find on your tube of paint is a light fastness ranking. This will tell you how likely your color is to fade over time. Light fastness can be a bit confusing because different brands do it in different ways, but most commonly I've seen 1 be excellent light fastness and 2 or 3 being colors that are more fugitive. Yes, fugitive is actually the art term for colors that tend to fade. Despite this being most common, there are brand differences, so be sure to look up your brand to see how they label light fastness. It is possible to make a quick, educated guess if you're standing in front of the rack of paint. You can learn a pigment that is known to be fugitive and look that one up. For example, alizarin crimson, if not labeled permanent alizarin, is usually fugitive. Your tube of paint will have a series number on it. This is brand specific again, and what it's doing is indicating what price category the tube of paint in your hand falls under for this brand. Usually with series numbers, the lower the number, the less expensive the tube of paint. There's going to be some very important safety information on your tube of paint, so bear with me, this does get a little technical. There should be an ACMI ranking on your tube of paint, and it should either say AP or CL. When AP is placed on a product, in the direct words of the ACMI, it identifies art materials that are safe and that are certified in a toxicological evaluation by a medical expert to contain no materials in sufficient quantities to be toxic or injurious to humans, including children, or to cause an acute or chronic health problem. What that means in plain English is that these products are independently verified by experts and proven to not cause harm to your health. That's the AP symbol. The CL symbol is actually the more important one because that means you need to take caution. This product did not receive that AP label for some reason and probably contains something that you should be aware of. You'll notice it's in the shape of a stop sign, specifically to make you think, stop, I better pay attention. Now, in addition to the ACMI rankings, there should also be an ASTM D4236. This is standardized labeling for art materials and required by law in the US. But it doesn't mean the materials are not toxic. What it means is that materials labeled with the ASTM information will be appropriately labeled with warnings if they cause acute hazards or chronic health effects. Most brands of paint will indicate in some way if the color in your hand is transparent, semi-transparent, or opaque. Some will do this by having a square box that's filled in if it's opaque, half filled in if it's semi-transparent, and empty if it's transparent. Some brands, like Golden, actually put this information in a slider bar that tells you how this tube of paint compares to others in their line. I find this extremely helpful. Golden not only has transparent versus opaque slider bars, they have matte versus gloss, thin versus thick, and low tinting versus high tinting. Now, most of these are pretty self-explanatory except for the tinting strength. Tinting strength indicates kind of a color's power to punch. A high tinting strength color will be very potent and it will be prone to taking over other color mixtures. So for high tinting colors, the phrase, "a little dab will do ya," is perfect. After watching this video, you should be able to pick up a tube of paint and know all sorts of specific facts about it. I hope you found your quick paint label education extremely helpful, and as always, any questions, please put them in the comments below. And you now can get a hold of me through Twitter at drawfromthehip, all one word, or on Instagram at desinnovates. I look forward to seeing you guys soon. I hope you're having a great day, so go create something awesome.